Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Accept the minutes of the meeting August 25th as printed.
I'll second.
We have a motion that has been seconded to accept the minutes for the Westminster Select Board for Wednesday, August 25th, 2021. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Minutes are adopted. Communication and public comments. Seeing none? Do we have public with us online?
Yeah.
Okay. Can they hear us?
Yeah, ask them. You guys can hear fine, right?
Yes, Alice can hear fine.
Okay. Hi, Alice. Okay, just making sure you guys are with us. Okay, seeing no communication and public comments. Thank you all. Moving on, unfinished business, discussion action, American Rescue Plan, ARPA, COVID local recovery funds update.
In your packet, you have the start of a list of people that have shown interest. I'm going to read the list so that if you stated that you were interested and I didn't get you written down, please give me a call. Jim Mattow. The village trustees want 3 or 4 more places. They weren't sure which ones, but they wanted 3 or 4 more people. Kevin Hughes, Select Board Chair. Russell Hodgkins, Town Manager. John Jones. Cynthia Stoddard. Bobby Kilburn. Paul Harlow. And Pauline Blake O'Brien, Town Clerk.
Is there a maximum number for this?
There isn't. No, but if I forgot somebody, I don't want to forget them. So I've been kind of trying to write them all down, and this is the list so far.
Dumb question. You said village. That is this village, not Gageville.
This is this village, the historic village trustees.
Is there anybody on? Oh, John Jones is from Gageville. Okay.
Yeah. Why, Craig, is they're their own entity.
Right.
So they actually get their own funds through this program.
Correct.
So they want to join strength with the town to do an enhanced program instead of trying to do something themselves. So that's why they want to be involved in the decisions of how this money will be spent, or at least look at what the possibilities are.
Is there a particular time frame for when we're to have our committee fully constituted?
We should start, and if people join late, that's fine too. But we should plan on having a meeting relatively soon.
Okay.
Outside of Paul Harlow, there's no other business owners on here, is it?
Not yet, no.
Yes, there was.
You?
Yeah.
You just don't have an office. Yeah, you do. Okay.
Okay.
So I will get back to everybody on the list with dates that work for me and the building here, and we'll see what we can do. Get one slated as soon as possible.
Okay. Seeing no comments, any comments from the public? Seeing none, moving on to Hartley Hill Road, private section update, if any.
No word yet from legal counsel.
Okay. Website renewal, update, if any.
I move that we table that issue.
We're not voting on it. We're just tabling.
Yeah, just table it.
Yes, I think it's certainly appropriate in the light of certain circumstances that we table until further notice. Any objections?
Are you moving it?
No, I'm just
You're just suggesting it?
suggesting it.
Okay.
I ask that we do.
So we will table the website indefinitely until a more appropriate time to discuss it. Is that fair enough with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Sue. Moving on to the collaborative processing manual update.
I left it on here for the fact of not forgetting about it, but we're doing a very big step tonight with the contractual matter for the assistant treasurer that will put into focus the manual and how it will be put together. Paul and I have been talking about it, and we need this piece to finalize the manual.
And I have, I've been compiling stuff that details every single thing that I do, that I've been doing. I think I've mentioned it before, that I don't really have the ability to do anything on a computer, like writing. But Darlene Kelly, my new assistant treasurer, has volunteered to help me with it. So it gets, there's scribbles in here and different things. So hopefully she's going to help me get it all laid out. So
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you, Paul.
In case the two of us are hijacked on a plane somewhere, somebody needs to do the payroll.
God forbid. Let's hope that does not happen. For the members of the public, that was Paul Harlow, our treasurer. Any other comment on the collaborative finance processing manual at this time, since we're taking a step forward this evening? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to new business. 7/29/21 storm progress update.
We still have not received the declaration as of today for the disaster, and that's really where we're kind of holding in a holding pattern for that. It's a big step for how we proceed with a couple different areas in the repair. So the repair is going well. Chuck can speak to it probably a lot better than I can, but for what I see being finished versus what's very close to being finished, we're doing well. We're doing very well.
You gotta just get your 2-cent input if you have any. I know this is a political thing. Do we have any reason as to why we have not had any word from the governor?
No. I can only surmise that it's from the disaster set in the south, from for FEMA's perspective.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure they had 700 people on foot down there assessing. I'm sure that has delayed the process up here to a point, but I do know that they had 30 days to declare it. 30 days has passed, so that obviously meant that they got an extension, and for how long, I don't know.
Do we know for sure they got an extension?
Yes, they had to have.
They have to tell you one or the other.
That's correct.
Okay.
So at that point, they
I know for a fact that FEMA went to Walpole,
they did. Yep, I heard that. I didn't.
Walpole, Alsted, Langdon, New Hampshire, that whole area, on the same flood.
Yeah.
They went over there, but they didn't come to.
We were told it was going to be virtual at that meeting.
Yeah.
You guys were involved in it. That this project was going to be virtual. They had never done it before, but they were going to try to do it with pictures and details of facts.
And do they have the information, all that information?
They surely do. Yep. Putney was the last one to submit, and they got that all squared away.
And is there work that we can't do because we won't be reimbursed for it? Yes, plenty, right?
There's work that we don't want to do until we know that we are going to get reimbursed.
Right.
So yes, there is a hang up there, but it's not stopping us from doing the majority of the repair, which that's still ongoing, full boat.
Declaration, though, separately, you're mentioning towns in New Hampshire. I'm assuming that your declaration had already come from the New Hampshire governor?
I don't know that. I would assume that, but I can't tell you.
They were
for
hit.
Sure.
They were hit twice, and I think, and I'm speaking out loud here, not knowing exactly, but they were coming for the combination of the two storms and how bad it turned into. Hinsdale had lost quite a few roads on the Connecticut River, and they were coming down for that, and then just kind of incorporated the whole.
What was the second, the following Sunday? Is that,
Yeah,
or a different
I think
event?
So we got that little rain, but
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
the Crane Brook, over
Excuse
in
me.
Hackworth, it goes to Boston Sugar House. Just that one road, dollar-wise, sustained more damage than all of our stuff put together.
Gotcha.
How many other towns are on that list waiting on his declaration for Vermont? Do you have a general idea?
For Vermont, there was 8 towns that
All in Windham County, right?
were in Wyndham County and that were recognized as being a
Okay.
disaster area. Could there be more? Yes, there could be, but there was 8 of us that were.
Whatever, I talked to 3 different towns in Windham County just today about it, and all 3 said that they understood that Westminster and Putney had the most dollars.
No question.
Is that what, okay, that's what they were seeing too.
I would say we're about 75% right now.
Some
We
of
still
that,
got a lot of big work to do, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we've got a lot done.
the big stuff is what is really the hangup,
Yes.
where the hangup is.
Right, Davidson Hill, that steep bank, going down there and fixing that slope and putting guardrails back up, because now that it's gone, you can't just not. Right now, we just got,
Name them, Chuck. So you got
Very good.
Henwood. You got Henwood we're waiting for,
yeah,
for the monies.
Davidson,
School Street.
yeah, the School Street culvert. I must slept in 2 days.
Piggery Road, that's a temporary fix. They did a great job, but it's temporary.
What about behind the Allen Brothers?
yeah.
Quarry, we're all set.
That's him, that's what.
That's part, yeah, behind Allen Brothers, the Forest Road.
Forest Road, yeah.
Or Covered Bridge Road, rather.
Yep.
That's part of it, yeah.
So, yeah, but those aren't holding us up from even snow plowing.
Right.
They've been fixed to the point where we can
But
handle the
in the
winter.
future, though, whether we get a declaration or not, we're gonna have to address it at some point. You can't just, well, we get the money and turn our back on
Yeah.
it, so.
Yeah.
We'll have to
We've
figure
already been
that out
approved
anyway.
for a structures grant on
What is the
2 of them.
what is the protocol, since we're on the record, what is the protocol in the event of a non-declaration? Do we know?
The state steps in and they start going by their emergency guidelines. And we know that we're eligible for their funds.
What does that change though? Like how is does one pay more than the other? Or
Yes,
how-
FEMA, it's 80, 10, and 10. 80 federal, 10 state, 10 town,
If it's declared.
if it's declared. If it's not, then it's, depending on how your standings are, but it's like 75, 25, 80, 20, best case scenario. So you do lose some, but at this point, it's still the majority of the costs. So either way, we need to know. We need to know what the next steps are.
Okay.
How much of the $500,000 that we our line of credit have we spent? You know?
We have only asked for 225 of that at this point. And that will cover what you just signed.
Going back to when we had the major flood, when we did have FEMA, one thing we remember, still the state is the one that dictates how you repair it. And then the federal comes in afterwards, but you're still abiding by state. But then
We've had the
federal-
state involved in every one of those
Right.
that we just named.
Yeah.
And they've given us the detail. Now it's,
That's what I'm saying, as long as you're always doing to what the states ask for, that's their responsibility to go get the FEMA. I guess that's the best way.
yep, I agree.
Since we're on the subject and very fortunate to have our wonderful treasurer here tonight, I just wanted to clarify one thing. We had made a joint decision based on the excellent support of our banker, Katie Dearborn and Mascoma and her team, to secure funding to make sure that we had enough capacity, given the draw that we were told, the competition of it, and for resources, and that we did not have enough money immediately that could not only hold the contractors in place, but maybe even provide enough liquidity for the materials. I wanted to make sure that we were all clear and in agreement that the decision to seek the interim funding at 1% before additional monies would be then given us down the road, which we're expecting, was both necessary and actually really urgent, given the time frame, given the amount of damage, and given the amount of people that were available or not available. Is there anyone that doesn't agree with what I just said?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. The objective to tap the 225 is to make sure also, as we've had in the past, that men and women who contracted with us and did the job and stuck with us were paid in a timely and appropriate fashion. Is that fair to say?
I think that's very important, yeah, because if it happens again, you want to make sure they're there to help you. I think that was an important thing to get, because they have a cash flow problem too, because they're putting out a lot of time and money to labor, so.
Sure.
I think it's very important they get paid.
But cash flow wise, once we get to next week, it will be a little bit of relief, is that correct? Because we'll have to be collecting all our.
We're collecting taxes, it's true,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But then in 20 days, we owe the school district, half of what we owe them and the fire district too.
Right.
So we have to put monies out there. And I believe we've already spent all of our
Emergency.
funds that
Yes.
we've set aside, so,
Yeah.
You look at the check register and it looks like we have some money in there, but some of those monies are things like the reappraisal fund. There's monies in the general checking
That we can't
that
touch.
we can't touch, so. And we may have a surplus for next year, but we don't really know that yet. And I think it'd be irresponsible to spend that money, especially without approval from the town. So I think borrowing the money is an excellent choice at that rate. I mean, we'll be reimbursed at some point, and that interest rate, I mean, you probably only spend $250, right, for a month. We've had it for a month. At 225, I'm saying it's about $250. That's
Wall Street.
to have that money, have that there is a safety and.
Wall Street for many years and 1%.
Yeah.
Really like that.
I'm not a money guy, I'm not a banker, but I would think that if somebody was willing to lend me that kind of money, I would do all I could with it.
I don't think anybody accused you of being a banker.
But I would be smart enough to spend that money wisely and use all of it I could to my advantage and not worry about sending it back.
It's a line of credit, essentially what it is, and
Right,
we only
right.
have,
You
we
have
only
up
pay
to.
if we use it, so,
Correct,
yeah.
correct. But I would use it.
And during Irene, I think we had to borrow $1 million.
Yeah.
And it took us several years to get the money for the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It took a long time to get that money.
There was a lot more than several. We had given up.
Right.
We had paid that and the hill, what was the hill that hit by a different storm? Bemis Hill.
Bemis Hill,
Yeah, Bemis Hill,
Mhm.
which was a weird storm, which was before that, but yeah. So we were 5 years probably before we actually got settled up.
What I'm trying to say is I wouldn't cob job something like the bank on Davidson Hill, because thinking that I'm gonna wait for FEMA money and send this other money, not use it, whatever, and then in the future, have to struggle to try to figure out where I'm gonna dream up the money to do it.
Mhm.
We've got it, we should do it while we can, and then, I think, anyway, that's,
No, and I want to thank everyone for the prioritization. I genuinely believe as a taxpayer, we did exactly the right thing, and for everyone's counsel and leadership, Jason, everybody, it's important. And
I agree.
the gentleman who actually led the amazing response for a storm that was, is now our treasurer. I think I'm correct in that. Didn't you run the whole thing?
From what?
What?
The big storm.
Oh, in FEMA?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't think I ran the whole thing, no.
but you did an excellent
Oh,
job.
it's there, yeah.
Thank
I
you
think I was
very
the chairman
much.
at that point, yeah.
No, you did an amazing job, and thank you. So, any other progress update?
Not at this point.
Okay. Any comment from the public? Seeing none, thank you. Contractual matter, Assistant Treasurer.
In your packet, you have the contract. I went over with Paul. We both were concerned about the minimum of 96 hours. But that being said, that's realistic. It's a very realistic number to use as the minimum hours that Paul will be utilizing this service. Because it's not only just the assistant treasurer, but it is also reconciling our books like we always have. So.
But what's the point of putting it in there?
6 hours, but I don't know.
They want to make sure that they get
Oh,
96
yeah,
hours. It's NIMRIC.
Right, I understand that, but,
I don't think we'll have a problem. I forget, Darlene had 25 hours in July, so
Yeah.
a lot of that was.
I don't know why the 96 is in there, but it's $10,560. We're used to spending $9,800 just on reconciliation. In the budget that we have present, we have just under $20,000 for financial help and reconciliation. So we
There's
have
also
it covered.
$3,500 to assistant treasurer.
I'm gonna say, we eliminate that
That's included
position.
in there,
It's not included.
Oh, that is, okay.
just under the 20.
Is there a reason why
19.8.
a NIMRIC representative's not here to like explain some of this? Or do we not need them here?
I don't think, I think I can answer any questions that you have.
I don't have a specific question, I'm just, it's a contract we're entering with somebody that's not here to answer a question about their own contract.
Yeah. We don't.
I didn't ask them to be here. We felt, pretty much Paul went with Darlene and actually created the lingo in the back.
Is that 15
What
list,
it's-
that's something you and Darlene came up with? A list of 15?
Yeah, we went through all that to make
I
sure.
don't remember seeing, we didn't have that kind of a layout before, did we?
We didn't,
It
and
was
that's
more
where,
general that
back
they
with
would come
with
in.
the manual, that all will be in the manual.
Okay,
So-
because it was a lot more general, that they would just come in and help out.
Right.
Not to say, NIMRIC and Darlene doing the work, we're getting great support in terms of making sure, quarterlies, end of the year, for audit purposes, I think we'll be in much better shape.
Yeah.
And she's extremely
Thorough.
versatile in NIMRIC, how to run. She can do it with the back of her hand, I'm a farmer, how farmers operate great.
No, I think it's
So,
a great move, I've been saying all along, having an outside service sometimes. You have the same people in the same office, sometimes you need to have different eyes come in and be able to look at it, especially with a company that's doing other towns.
Yeah, and she does all this work all the time.
Yeah.
She can do it so easily. She can go in and find, if there's a mistake somewhere, she can go in and fix it just like that. And we can do it remotely too. So I'm in the office, I'm doing something, it's easy for her to click on remote, and she looks right at what I'm looking at, and she goes, we'll just do this, click, 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 and like there was a mistake where I closed the period for payroll, and I didn't actually look at it, and I put it into October. Somebody had already done it before, but she was easily go back and just moved it right back in very easily, so. I think it's
You need a motion on this contract?
I just wanted to also just so,
Absolutely.
this is very thorough, and so you think these are good steps moving us forward towards, again, getting our practices better towards our collaborative financing processing manual.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, great.
I guess I would agree to this for a year and maybe revisit it after. I'm not really crazy about the minimum hours in a contract, but
Once we have a year under our belt, you'll be
we
able
can
to,
revisit it and see.
exactly, and we'll see how much
We
we
can
have.
change it if we had to.
Exactly, and it is only good for a year.
To
so-
defend them, Sue, I mean, you're committing somebody that's in your office to work, and if you can't commit to them that, hey, I'm gonna give you this, it's hard to employ somebody.
I know, but she already works there, so
No,
at
that's
least she
true.
must have other work to do, right? It's not like she was hired specifically to be the assistant treasurer. She has other work from them work she was doing. So it'd be one thing if they had to hire someone.
I don't think, they're not gonna overlap, though. If she's working here, she's doing this, or she's working over here, she's doing this.
To be very honest, I had the same concerns until I started doing the hours and the.
Yeah, well, I can
Okay.
see that, but I
Then
just
we-
would like to revisit it in a year and
No,
see
Absolutely.
exactly how many
I
hours.
Definitely think that's.
Should be they're allocating, hours and labor, how many people they're hiring, you know,
Yeah.
if they need to know what it's gonna take to get their work done or
I'm
something.
gonna say, if somebody, if
It could be
another
hiring
town,
somebody else. you know.
well, I know they're in a lot of towns that I deal with, and so if another town says, can you give us another 10, 20 hours? They have to say, well, we can't unless it's from Westminster, because that's how many hours we committed to.
Yeah.
I would think after a certain point, once they got stuff cleaned up or figured out and straightened out, and maybe you could figure it out better over a year's, that 96 might, we don't need it for 96, we might do it for
Very
50
possible.
or something. I
Very,
don't know.
very possible.
But it would be nice to go back to what we're saying, is to at least get this company to do a review a year from now, how they thought it went. In other words, we're hiring them, but you honestly want their input that says, this is what we did, and this is what we think we could improve on, you know, after they've been here. It'd be nice to hear it back from them when we're all done.
Maybe ask for a report and
Yeah.
every year from now, have them come in.
Exactly, if they're not,
Sure.
I'll move that we approve the contract with NIMRIC. NIMRIC, bulk time purchase agreement for the town of Westminster for the duties of assistant town treasurer.
Second.
Motion has been made to accept the contract with Nemrick and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, contract is adopted.
Could I have the chair sign that, please?
Yes.
Is, excuse me, does that copy have Darlene's signature on it?
Yes, it does.
I have a,
This almost looks like the original.
That's the original, I think you have
this is
the original.
Is that the
That would be awesome to have
Yeah.
sign the original.
This looks
I
like,
just have copies.
not a printed,
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, that's an original.
Still a copy on it.
Okay, moving on to the 5-year capital plan.
Probably.
I added
I'm sorry. No,
your
go ahead.
thoughts to it, why I printed it again for you.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Sorry, that's all I got.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Mr. Chair.
Not at all.
Okay. I was gonna ask Chuck, we probably haven't gotten any farther on,
Oh, no, really, I do have a price back for a tank, upgrade, and somebody came in and looked at the heating system, and they're just getting a number together, but they came and measured the whole place up and came up with an alternate heating system. And I've got a contractor coming to look at adding 2 bays.
Yeah.
And Craig mentioned that he had somebody coming for installation.
Should be, if not next week, week after. I met with them. And so, yeah, they're right up, they're busy, but yes, I told them it would be 2 buildings, the community house and the garage. That they'll come in and do evaluation of, it's a Vermont foam installation company that does all these places.
so my question is, to the board, is how do you want to proceed as far as a process? My sort of idea was that the town garage thing, we could set it up to show how the process might go, defining things we want to do, estimated cost, but that we might do that for other town projects, the community house, or other buildings.
These are all capital plans, capital improvements, so they are going to take some serious money to back them.
Right.
So whether we start, like we did for the town garage, we started a fund and we just throw monies into it as we can.
Right.
No pressure, but if we have the goal
Exactly.
at how much we need, then we can go to taxpayers at town meeting and say, this is what we've got, this is what we need, and
Right.
so that we can
That's the
continue.
idea.
And if it's a line item that we're after, we can add it as an article.
Right. So,
My whole thing, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No.
my whole thing was, both of them was, if we came back with a design and layout, what the town garage is, and the same with the community, because only that is the grant money. There's all kinds of money out there So which one would qualify? So if you take the Northwest Westminster Community House, I wouldn't want to do any more until we finally get a big overlay. This is what the heat's gonna cost, this is what the insulation, this is what it's gonna take to get it. And at that point, then we can maybe look at, okay, is there money that would be available to actually help out?
Oh, yeah.
Then go to the voters and say, hopefully,
Uh-huh.
this is how much money we can get for
Yeah.
grant, and this is how we can pay for it.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I mean, my idea was instead of having, planning it all at once, have some sort of priorities, you know, what do we want to do first? Put the money into first, the town garage, the post office, the, you know, whatever we want to do. But I noticed that you put broadband, which is great. I think that's an important infrastructure thing. I would, a bridge, I think I would rather leave that in the bridge reserve fund. As a
Bridge isn't going to be paid for by the Bridge Reserve Fund, but there's a structures grant that we've
Mhm.
literally had the verbal approval for
Uh-huh.
already. So it's in there as a capital need,
Mhm.
but like broadband, the ARPA money covers that
Mhm.
to a point.
Yeah.
So we have other options for funding.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have to come out of the general taxpayers' budget.
Right.
So, but they are capital improvements, so they're on that list, as we put down last week, 2 meetings ago.
Mhm. So I guess my question is then, do we want to just assemble this information on the town garage and the Northwest Community House, or do we want to do it for other?
I think you keep going with getting you have to put it out to bid, but you need some place to get started
I know.
with at least a dollar amount that you can say is pretty darn close.
Right.
Then you start to prioritize. And the thing about the town garage, and I don't know if Chuck's for this or not, but it's also, it kind of in sections. He could do the tanks, let's say this year, and that's not gonna hinder any of the other projects that he's got going, but when you have the money, you could do a phase.
Well,
Put it into
Once the
phases.
tanks were out,
Well,
that would
that's what
free
we
up the
kind
spot
of,
for the bay.
There you go, so,
that's what we kind of talked about, yeah.
But I think the big hurdle would be to take an actual look at where we're gonna go, and there's a lot of different garages, but if we end up saying, okay, you're gonna be living in this new part that's gonna be more efficient heated, and the part that you're in now might be just a little bit of heat and be used for storage, for example. You really have to look at somebody designing it and coming back and go, hey, long-term, this is what this place should look like and what we're gonna do with it. I don't think the building is ever worth tearing down, but on the other hand, you might need to have somebody come in and say, if we add on, 3 more bay in an office and we offer this, that would be fine for the rest of what we're going.
We're somewhat limited with space there too, though. We don't own where the salt shed is. Probably half the sand piles not on our land.
that's correct.
There's a bank on the other side, which I suppose we could fill that in over time, but I don't, I'm just throwing it out there.
But we're
Setbacks.
where all the
and
equipment is
everything else.
sitting, you just need to put a building. I mean, it's just that there's
Yeah.
there's a little shed here and a little shed there. It's just, I think if you made it half again, and you use that as your main part, but you'd have to have somebody come in and do a layout, architect.
What about the septic system there? Do we even know what there is there?
The guys don't use the bathrooms at all. They don't.
I can tell you that's false.
Do you know what it is?
Do
I don't even
I
know
know
where
roughly where it
I
is.
think it's just like a 1,000-gallon tank and a dry well.
I thought that land that we inherited, that's what it was gonna be eventually.
over the bank.
No,
Yeah, where we ended up with the land where we took the lady's house.
Yeah, over the bank. Yeah.
that's not where the septic system.
No, it isn't, but I thought if you had to go, if you had to go someplace, that's about all that land was worth.
Yeah.
Was the leach field,
Is there still a heat and oil tank in the ground there too?
A town garage?
On the left side?
Yeah, the town garage has a heat well tank in the ground, plus the gas and fuel.
Right.
Yeah, but I'd take that, where the shed is, the metal building, I would propose that we put that in Westminster West. And in the winter, the loader and the backhoe would stay right in that, right over there. So they're undercover. And build 2 more bays over here for, the loader
Grader loader.
and grader, and have the other bay. I already talked to VLCT to see if it would be, possible to put in a pit for maintenance.
Right.
And they said, yes, that's, you just have to follow the rules, but yeah, absolutely. So then you'd be able to get under the trucks to grease them and stuff, so it would be better and safer.
Mhm.
With plow gear on, it'd be much easier too.
It's just,
What's that now?
With plow gear on, it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
it is, but it is, and we have one, the liability, you better look, we really ought to look into that.
Yep, you can, like I said, that's why I called,
Yeah.
the
The
It may not,
the
yeah,
insurance
long run, it
company.
may not be.
The liability of working out of a pit is still phenomenal, what the insurance company charges.
So these are the priorities we need to set so we can get in motion.
Right, I mean,
like-
yeah.
Your thoughts, no?
Yeah, my hope is that for every town building, et cetera, we had, we would do the same thing we did for the garage. That doesn't sound like we're really gonna get there, but if we wanna start with the garage, that's A-okay with me, and good with that, but,
Should we, when do you want to set a prioritization for our project, first project that we should commit resources, get on a timetable that at least we can start moving the ball, moving the
I think we-
locomotive down the track?
I think we need to push hard on Northwestern only because we own the building, sitting there doing nothing.
mhm.
And we have to either come up with a plan that this is what we're gonna use the building for.
Yeah.
I mean, the garage it's always gonna be there, we need to put an addition on, do this. But meanwhile, this building is sitting there unoccupied and can't use it for anything.
Unusable.
Yeah, it's unusable. It's to hopefully come by March to go, hey, whether we do anything, to go to the voters and say, this is what the long-term plan is. Not that we're asking for the money this year, but we need to start with it, and this is what we want to use it for, and this is the people that want to use it, and come up with a plan.
Well, I was hoping that we would be able to do the same thing we did with the garage,
Yeah.
is say we need to do this, we wanna do this, this is the rough cost, where do we go from here?
Right. Realistically, all we really should do
Uh-huh.
is get the tanks out of the ground. That should be
Uh-huh.
priority 1.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we have that money, right?
How much we have?
63.5.
You got some of it.
Oh, it's more than that?
Oh, yeah, that covered the price of part of it.
Mhm.
But you get those out of the ground to start with, just because they remove your environmental liabilities, all that.
Should lessen some of our insurance to some degree, I would
Um,
think.
Should.
And then, the other stuff, yeah, I'd love to see it. Do we really need it? We struggled this far, you know.
We'll get it done when you retire. We'll put up, when you retire, we'll put a new
Ooh,
building up, and we'll
Chuck
call it the
Norris.
Chuck Building,
Oh,
okay?
The memorial.
The AC building
I-
after Chuck.
I'd still, it's can't say memorial. It'd be in honor of,
Yeah.
the honorary,
Yeah.
and then they tear it down like it was a statue.
So at some point, we can get a list of what needs to be done to the community now?
It's on your plan.
It's all here.
It's right there. There's a whole list under number 3.
I know, but
We've done some of it. We did the roof
What,
repair.
the main thing that's coming up is this insulation and heat. I
yeah.
mean, that's the main thing to figure out.
And the
what-
cost, you know,
Yeah, well,
the
that's
rest
what
of
it
it, so
come
we
out.
can say,
Well, that's what I ran into, went through the heat, is like, how you heating this building if you got no insulation? So,
If I can tell you, 44 to wood.
yeah.
Are there any critical aspects of the other 4 structures I'm seeing on town hall, for both town halls, for example, fire and safety repairs and handicap accessibility? Certain prioritizations that we can make a prioritization, even though we're focusing on the west-west, because some of these things obviously carry with them
West-west
both
is
liability and
West is completed.
it is.
And the town hall renovation, I've left this there so that you could look back at what you've done versus what we've got still left to do.
Okay.
So the town hall is completely taken care of, except we're gonna paint it, and that's just maintenance. And we have the permission from the taxpayers to renovate the front, paint it, re-varnish the stairs up into this museum area.
This might not look so daunting if we got rid of what we have done.
Okay, I
You
again,
know what I mean? It looks
Just-
like we got a whole pile of stuff. In reality, we got one or two things on each.
Honestly, we do. That's why the new FY '22 ideas were kind of separated from the old,
Yeah.
but I wanted you to see what we have. We haven't been not doing a 5-year plan.
No, I
We just
appreciate
haven't
that very
been
much.
talking about it
Right.
as much as we probably should have, but we have been knocking these items off one at a
Does the
time.
contractor still have a punch list for downstairs?
He finished it yesterday.
So the front stairs are not on the punch list? That
The front stair.
Scouring and-
Yes, in fact, that is in my manager's report.
that
I'd
may
like
not
to
be the
go.
right term, but you know.
Yeah,
what I mean.
so the spall,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
but I'd
It
like to go
drives me
down
nuts
there.
every time I walk up them, so I'm just.
I'd like to go down there and, in my manager's report,
Okay,
do a walkabout.
And the post office painting?
That is in the process.
Oh, they're doing it now?
They have, steam cleaned it and they did the
Mildew.
mold resistant, stuff, and now they're going to be scraping and painting.
Outstanding.
And as long as, it's always gonna be a post office, but we did commit to this building for one other reason, that was we needed the parking space. So even if the post office decided to somehow pull out, we're not abandoning that land, we're gonna have to take care of the building, we're gonna have to keep the land, because it's the only place to park.
Absolutely.
didn't we need
point.
the storage downstairs too?
What's that?
Didn't we need the storage
It came
downstairs?
with
Or was
it,
I
but-
thinking of something different?
You know, it came with it, but that wasn't why we bought the.
No, but.
They have to be secure,
Right.
and to have a access down there didn't
Keep trying, Jeff.
fit their means, so we'd have to actually create a second,
Separate door.
exactly, a bulkhead or whatever, because they need to have secured premises, so it was kind of talked about when I first got here, and
Yeah.
we replaced the furnace, and that was it, and said,
And it
it's
was
not
wet
worth
too, wasn't it?
it doesn't have a complete floor, it's still dirt,
Oh.
some of it, so, yeah, it's not great storage.
I'm just going back to Paul was on the board with us at the time when we bought this building. We had a lot of people who were totally against it. But we didn't want to own the post office, we just wanted the parking area. Once the voters really committed that they wanted to keep this building, we had no other choice. And it is.
It's a moneymaker, right?
Yes, it is.
It actually
turned into a
has been
okay.
now.
Yeah,
When I got here, it wasn't, because we kept putting
yeah.
supplies into it, but now, the last 4 years, we haven't done anything to it. So we're-
Chuck, you got a quarter for the well.
Oh, for the wishing well?
What you got?
He's tired, he can't think anymore.
All right, this is excellent. Any more comment, discussion on the 5-year capital plan?
It will be on next meeting, so just keep
Yeah.
writing down your thoughts, and we'll just
Okay.
keep enhancing it.
Excellent. Invoice for the school district elections.
So you folks requested to know how much we have into the invoices, the elections, the postage, all of that. And that's what we have into it, $9,150.65. Started in 2019 when they didn't have a tax rate because of the merger. And October, that was 2019, 2020, we had the exact same thing. So an extra tax bill had to go out because they didn't have a tax rate. And then just recently, we've had 3 elections with ballot printing and the chips being created so that we could use our machine, which is by law we had to. And we have people that we have to pay. So the $9,150.65 is truly bare bones. It is not bluffed by any sort. And we all, just to throw it out there, we've been denied on the first 2. We sent them invoices and they just denied it.
We have a nice folder that identifies all these outstanding,
We're talking about
expenditures,
tonight, the
correct?
first 2 November and
I
October.
believe we have it, thank you. Okay,
You know, there's something wrong with the system when we get the money to pay them. In the real world, you would just deduct it from, next time we send them their money, just.
well, that has been posted. Millie, I'm sorry, did I interrupt
That's
you?
okay, deny the first 2 from the district, the November and October, is that what you're
That's correct.
talking?
From the merged district.
From the first district, thank
No,
you.
I'm just thinking, I just can't believe they come back and say you can't do it when we control the money. right? We do control the money. I
I-
mean, you just send, here's your check minus $3,195.
Actually, it's 9,150.
No, but take one at a time. I was like, okay, we'll give you a break, you know? And I think if we lost out on them, we should not be losing out on this last few.
They have agreed to the last
Shouldn't
bit,
be losing out on that.
but, and that's what they said, is that bring it back to us and we'll look into it again. And it's time. And
Absolutely.
I'm torn. I don't know what the process would be, but it totally makes sense to me, Craig, just like you just said, is deduct this off of their bill. It will,
It will bring them to the
up
table.
discussion. Exactly. It
Bring
will
them to
bring
the
up
table.
this discussion and we can, hash it out, school board, select board.
And with our partners on the school board, who do we know that would be willing to have a very collegial discussion?
David Major,
David's a great man.
Cheryl Charles
Cheryl?
are the two main people for the school district right now.
Okay, and again, speaking as a taxpayer and appreciate everything that they do, but I totally agree with Craig and the town manager that the money is recoverable. And we certainly have a right to some of it. And I'm not opposed, fellow board members, to what Craig said before we send out the money, to making a deduction, provided that we have a meeting of the minds of the people with authority over the school district, that we're in agreement beforehand, unless anyone has an objection to that.
I don't want to blindside them, but.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think we should talk
They know
about it
it's
first.
coming, that it's not a blind side, but
Can't ignore.
they're going to expect a payment here shortly, by law.
I was gonna say,
So we're,
in 2 weeks.
our 10th, our deadline is the 10th, so we have to pay within, I think it's 20 days after that. So we
Do we have
typically
another
do,
meeting before we pay them?
we have one the 22nd, is that correct? Yes,
So
the
we,
22nd, we could try to get a joint meeting or have them
I
join
think
us.
we make a phone call that, hey, we're gonna deduct 9,150 and, to have you to come and explain to why we should send you that amount of money.
Okay.
What's your school tax rate go up?
Yeah, we're gonna pay it anyway, it doesn't matter.
Either
A
way,
little bit from Athens, a little bit from Grafton, but mostly it's Westminster residents are gonna pay for it.
It's just,
Good point.
The issue.
that's, and that's what the discussion was when they denied it, is it is taxpayer money, and it is, but it's two different budgets, and they should,
and I don't always agree with it, because I just doing my mother's taxes, and the school system gets money back from the state, and for example, half of it, but she gets no help from the town on your taxes. So
No.
my mother, who's 92 years old, at least if the school is up, she gets a little bit of help on it. They pay for almost half of it, but when that 10,000 comes out of our budget from the town of Westminster, she gets no help at all on her tax bill. That's why I always say it ought to go to, don't ever build a school for something they don't have to pay, but this is their expenses, it's their call. It should come out of their line item somewhere.
And in the spirit of that, I think it's great to have a 30-minute conversation on the record, so if folks want to go back and take a look at that, they know that we did have this conversation, even though, as Paul pointed out, it does just come out in the wash in the end because of the way we're taxed. But at least, as you said,
It does and it doesn't. I mean, we're responsible right now to come up with $10,000,
Yeah,
$9,000.
I agree with it.
And this is not even counting really all the time that we spend in our office to do it.
Yep.
So it's only a matter of them at least willing to come to have the conversation. I'm sure they will.
So,
I will
Mr.
try
Town
to get
Manager,
there to next meeting.
thank you, Russell.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the invoice for school district elections? Seeing none, we'll now move on to manager's report.
Just a few things quickly. Bids for the town hall front entrance and wall, this is a different one, sorry, and an old one. Rabies were present in Westminster, and this is more of a health alert more than anything. We had a raccoon attack a woman near Father's Restaurant. Please be very careful around generally nocturnal animals seen and encountered during the day. This alert came from Vermont Alert, which is a service that's a call center that we were talking about and how we need to get information to people. But again, we only have a handful of folks that actually get the responses from that. So please, this time of year, they're it's very common to see a rabid animal, more so than during the spring or summer. So please be careful.
It's a good time to encourage people to get their dogs and cats vaccinated.
Absolutely, absolutely, and registered.
Right, and
It's all public safety. We are in the process of painting the post office, as we just discussed. And FYI, front steps, town hall discussion. I would like all of us to go down and talk about it. There's a couple options out there. We were supposed to make a formal presentation, but it's to the point where they're done except for that, and I'd like your input. He's thrown a couple ideas at me. I'm not thrilled with any of them, to be honest with you, but it's got to have, something's got to happen. It's just going to get worse and worse, and we're going to end up replacing them way prior to what they should be replaced at. So I don't know if you want to finish the meeting and do it at the very end, do a little field trip.
Yes.
But it's going to get dark, but we do have some pretty good lights.
Okay,
So,
let's do that.
okay.
Anything else?
My agenda. I got it. That's it for my manager's report. Thank you.
Okay, boards and commissions.
I have nothing to report at this time. With the passing of Russell Lazarick, we do have some openings that we will have to be filling. I notified Wyndham Regional this morning and the Planning Commission and told them both of the tragic news of Russell Lazarick passing. So
Could we send a card and have the select board sign it?
we did for you,
Okay.
for the town of Westminster.
Other business.
I have a couple things. In your packet, you have a letter that came today from the Westminster Community Schools, and it is the next step in the process with the Vermont Board of Education. Cheryl Charles is the one who apparently orchestrated it and signed it. It's interesting reading to see the next steps in their negotiation to withdraw from the Unified Board. Also in your packet, you have your first draft. It's just the format that I'm going to use. If you would take a look at it before next meeting. Just the blue dollar amounts are just dollar amounts that I know are as common as they can be, so I put them in there. But this is the format that I'll be using, and next meeting we'll be getting into like the first page of it, going through each line item that we can answer. Some of them, information doesn't come until later in October, early November, so then we go back and fill them in as we get the information, such as health insurance and such as that. So anyway, and last but not least, Kevin, you wanted to talk about masks.
Oh, yes, thank you. Obviously, there's a question regarding masks. I just wanted to bring that up because there is, without getting into any controversy about it, there are very strong feelings as to whether masks should or should not be utilized at our meetings. And I just wanted to bring it up that if that was something that we wanted to take under consideration, that we may wish to do that. That's all I wanted to say. Right now, though, the protocol still remains. I simply asked at the beginning of the meeting, the protocol was still left up to us.
It is.
That's why I'm just simply bringing it up if someone felt strongly, or we're gonna continue to do as we do.
Still don't have a right to ask if people had shots.
I know. I can tell you what we've been doing, and we've been very busy with tax season. We have windows and we have rooms now, which keep the public away from ourselves. When we meet at a distance. If we have to talk about zoning applications, et cetera. Masks were probably 60-40 on people that came into the town hall, which is great. They felt they needed them. That's awesome. We don't discourage it or encourage it. We just let it flow. We're constantly washing our hands with everything we touch, including money and checks and et cetera. So we're going through a protocol that they've given us for safety of our employees. The clerks have, their screens are still up, which are great. They're the plastic screens. When they have a researcher come in, one of the clerks feels it's very critical that she wears the mask and one doesn't. So it's been left up to the individual, and it seems to be working very well. And we're not alienating anybody. They're coming in, they're doing their business, they're leaving.
I'm down with personal choice.
I think that's the best, honestly. It does,
Unless something drastically changes somewhere, then.
exactly, absolutely. And I think most towns are doing that same approach, is leaving it up to the individual coming into the building. Some people ask, some people just say, no, I'm not gonna wear one. And we said, just keep your distance, please be respectful of the distances, and we're all good. And we've had no problems.
Wanted to make sure we just had the conversation on the record, that everyone knew that we did discuss it, that it wasn't something that we hadn't just fobbed off. Unless there's an objection, we'll continue with the policy of personal choice. Okay. Did you have something you wanted to say about the book, end of the year?
Oh, nothing to do with that, as we said. No, I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bad time to bring it up, but I've been thinking about it before all this has happened in town. We used to, in our book, put a list of,
What book?
this is our final book of the year, when we go to the March.
Town report.
Town report? Oh, okay.
We used to put a list of people who passed away that year, just to remind everybody that, hey, we lost Ted Slade.
We stopped doing that because we missed people. And it was done before I got here.
Right.
And so when I got here, the discussion was just exactly what you're bringing up. And somebody was forgotten. And that's really.
We can put it on the next year, that's all. I mean, to not do it just because we forgot one person. I was here, I was part of that discussion. I just thought.
Yeah, sure.
There's people who lived in this town who passed away, and then sometimes we just don't have the information. We don't print it in the Gazette or anything. And you just pick up the Reformer and list everybody who passed away. Honestly, if you don't have Facebook, you don't know what's going on with the world almost, And I hate to say it that way, but really, how else you find out? And I was like, these people live in this town. You get the year report. It should be recognized. It should be, really, and it's, even if they haven't lived in this town that long,
Are the births, do we do that?
No.
No.
So like I've got the one, my mother's, town report, my mother's listed in, so it's
That one,
kind of a big deal.
that one was a HIPAA thing. They didn't,
Yeah.
some folks didn't want their child to be,
Are all deaths registered with the town though, right?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so we do
Death
have
certificate.
a record,
Yeah.
a complete record.
Okay,
Do we?
yes, but what happened was your father went to Bennington to live out his last days. The death certificate went to that town, and we never got word of it. You are not a resident, you are from Springfield, so we never got word, and we forgot. And it was more than one time that we forgot people. And
It's still
was
better than forgetting everybody, and we just don't put it.
yeah, I'm not for it or against it. I'm just saying why we stopped was that reason. And the first we did because people
We still have time.
did that at town meeting.
I think it's a very.
That and taxpayers. delinquent taxpayers we stop.
Very thoughtful
Because that's-
suggestion by
that was
Craig Allen. I think
the
it's something
meaning.
we should consider maybe returning to remember our friends and neighbors who are no longer with us.
We're a community, that's what I like about it.
That's-
We're a community.
You're absolutely right.
Good suggestion.
Any other business? Any other comments from the public?
We're gonna do executive session by working out there and come back in, and, but we're not executive session, but we're gonna.
No decisions are gonna be made out
No,
there.
so we're gonna
Correct.
recess out there and come back in, or we're gonna adjourn and?
We're gonna adjourn and
Go on a field trip.
we'll talk about this next meeting.
You're driving the bus, right?
Seeing no other business,
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
motion has been made to adjourn the meeting to September 22nd, 2021. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? We are adjourned. Thank you all.